Good afternoon, I'm Spencer Hodgetts, founder of Reboundog, and welcome to our Sofa podcast, where with a diverse global mixture of guests, we host curious and transparent conversations which lead into creating, more or less as a catalyst, change that addresses a huge range of issues, one of which we'll talk about is loneliness today. And we're by doing so, we're creating humane futures, which is fantastic. Today I'm honoured to introduce four wonderful guests from California, from France and from England, along with myself. And the topic we'd like to engage you in is, how do we help loneliness through the human-animal bond? And I'd like to introduce both Nadia and Jean-Claude Orton from Paris, Benita Senjet from the UK, and Jamie Goldfarb from Southern California. I'll ask each of you to introduce the work that you do, because you do it far more succinctly than I ever will do. So, Nadia, I'll ask you to start the conversation.
Sure. Thank you, Spencer, for inviting us. So I'm Nadia, a part of Loneliness Global Action with Jean-Claude also, my partner in life in business. So Loneliness Global Action is a citizen power movement. So an NGO as well. We are addressing and tackle loneliness through united also NGO or communities and also private businesses and also public institution, because a lot of NGO, they are working on silo and also private business as well. But by working hand in hand in this triad, I can say we can tackle loneliness, I believe, because especially government will only listen if there is also a massive population or citizens when it comes to public policy change and in social media, etc. And loneliness is still being stigmatized, but we want to make loneliness loud, which I believe that now if you can see in the internet and social media, people start not feeling shy or embarrassed to talk about it. Which is good because it's not just a psychological problem, but also physiological. So because we are driven by cortisol or stress hormone, which is a fight or flight. And GC can explain a little bit about the science because he's a tech guy and also scientist at the same time. So GC, go ahead.
Yeah, hello everybody, and thank you, Spencer. The second time you invite me on your podcast. I very appreciate it. So Nadia talked about the part which is the NGO, so the charity part of what we are working on. There is also a business part, so I'm definitely tech guy, a serial entrepreneurs. You can find some of my products in well-known brand like of smartphones, in many security cameras, etc. But I wanted, at the time of the COVID, to do something that was, I would say, more meaningful and still tech, because we work a lot developing a new emotional artificial intelligence, which definitely is not to be your best friend, because your best friend has to be human, and why not, a pet, like a little Vivi here. To support that and fight against loneliness, what we found, in short, is that today loneliness costs to the world about $2 trillion, which is like the GDP of a country such as France, because of that. It's huge. It also, according to the WHO, the World Health Organization, kills about 800,000 people everywhere. We heard recently President Lula at the COP30 said that global warming will kill 250,000 people every year. Unfortunately, 2030 to 2050. But loneliness already killed more three times more than that, and we believe, according to our calculation, way more. So we decided to do something, and we also are working on an investment fund that already has 10 companies in which we will invest. And we are thinking that one party as pet like is wonderful to help people to leave that stress. And we are working in a project, and I take the advantage of the treatment was to say that we are very interested by businesses that may help people to fight loneliness also with them. So thank you again for this chance. Spencer.
You're most welcome, Jean-Claude. It's good to see you again. Jamie, you do amazing work with, I would use the word term very loosely, therapy dogs, but from a different angle. Would you like to explain how your take on this?
Sure. So, first of all, thank you for having me on, Spencer. It's a pleasure to be a part of this panel. It's pretty esteemed from having had the chance to speak to you all. Um, just so you know, as Spencer mentioned, I'm in California. 8 years ago, after working in education for 25 years, I was in a pretty fortuitous position of determining what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And when it came down to it, I wanted to spend my time with pets and I wanted to deliver social good to everybody around me. So that was kind of the driving motivation. Um, we are what's known as an animal assisted therapy group. My guess is for many of you, that brings up some pretty strong connotations and images of people sitting with pets and petting them. That's clearly a part of animal assisted therapy. Pause to share. And just so you know, we've been doing this for 8 years. We've now done over 15,000 visits. We offer sort of a unique model of engaging pets. And I say pets because we have both cats and dogs visiting. But at the end of the day, what we're looking for is to allow in a model that people get to engage pets as they would if it was their own pet. At the end of the day, we're looking to not just relieve loneliness, and no offense, that's a critical part of what we do, but we think the best way to achieve that is by building relationships with those we visit. So we tend to visit frequently. We tend to bring pets of all different shapes, sizes, energy levels, because everybody has their own preference when it comes to a pet. And we allow them to engage in what we consider to be more naturalistic approaches. So it could be just sitting with people, or I say this all the time, we sometimes have what we call human canine feline play dates, where we have some pets that get held, others that run around and chase balls and chase the kids we might be visiting. But we find in that way we can build relationships and in our experience help expand the value of bringing pets to those people.
That's brilliant, thank you. Panita, how does that fit in with the work you're doing here in the UK?
First of all, thank you, Spencer, for
You're
having
welcome.
me. It's a real pleasure to be here. And as Jamie said, it's the goal is quite common, as in it's the same goal. So first of all, little Leo started during pandemic, saying that a lot of pets were getting abandoned. And Leo, my therapy dog, we never kind of stopped our therapy sessions. But when I saw that a lot of pets were getting abandoned, that certainly was heartbreaking for me. And I saw that disconnection, about a disconnection of how people were feeling internally and how they were kind of managing it externally with their pets. So that's when it started. I released a children's illustrated book to begin with, to help families and children understand how to empathize and bond with their pets, and their body language, not really the body language, but more of on a humane side, how you can connect with the pets. And that's when it started. And since then, we have now Little Leo has become Little Leo CIC, where we deliver quite a lot of creative projects in the community. And so basically, Little Leo CIC is about sparking empathy, creativity, and possibility. So we bring different generations together through creative arts, conversations, mental health support, and most importantly, human animal bond, the incredible bond between humans and animals. At the heart of its work is our lovely therapy pet, Leo. He has been a
Mhm.
therapy pet for more than 6 years now, and he got certified in the US and then in the UK. And it's amazing how he's the one who embodies the healing power of human and animal bond. And Leo helps the younger people find emotional balance, calmness, and connection or caring for the pets. So, what we do is by combining creativity and connection and care for animals, Little Leo actually creates safe, inclusive space for all age group. So basically showing that the possibilities are endless when it comes to human animal bond. And the mission is very simple: kindness within, kindness around. Because if a person doesn't feel good about himself, or if he is struggling with something, I think that just passes on to the pets. So it's more of healing within and then around. That's the whole idea. And it's been now, we started in 2021 and it's just been growing. We've had we've had more than 5,000 participants, more than 800 hours of therapy visits in different settings, whether it's psychiatric hospital, whether it's care homes, whether it's Zoom, whether it's schools, or whether it is some sort of a community togetherness or hubs. But yeah, all different kind of settings, and we have delivered that kind of mental health support and creative programs. So
So,
that's Little Leo CIC.
thank you. While you're there, I know you have a background as a trainer for a pet therapy organisation. Could you tell us a little bit about your work and what you look for in both the owner of a therapy dog and also in the therapy dog?
I think that's a great question, first of all, Spencer, because the connection between the owner and the pet is the key for everything, is absolutely everything, because it's about their mutual trust, which is extremely important if you want to deliver that kind of an energy to anyone. So it's important that the owner is completely in sync with their pet. And it's important that they understand their body language, how the dog is feeling. And it's pretty much like humans. Sometimes there are days when we don't feel so great, in doing certain things, which we are good at, but we just don't feel like. That happens to pets as well. So does the owner understand that? So I'm an assessor at Pets Therapy, and that's when my main goal is to see how much the owner, the pet owner, and the pet, they are in sync when they are trying to kind of interact with people. So uh, for example, if the owner is able to understand that the dog is anxious or is not feeling good, is she or he able to read that? And priority being the pet's well-being, are they able to kind of ensure that the pet feels good? It's so important, because when this is good, that's it, you are there and people can feel that energy. So that's where I assess them and I see if whether they are able to connect with each other and are in sync. And if not, then obviously we kind of guide them, we help them understand that no, probably it's important that you read that why was your dog shaking? Why was his tail tucked in? Because by the end of it, it's through the lead, through your energy, that the dog is catching up. The minute there is assessment or something, sometimes I've seen that the owner feels stressed and they want to perform. This pressure of performance is there, and that somehow reaches the dog. And then the response sometimes is like, oh, my dog never behaves like that. I don't know why he's behaving today. So then where is it coming from? Why is it happening? So these kind of mindful questions and understanding when a owner has, it makes a huge difference. So my goal is to see whether they both are in sync as an assessor. And if they are, then fantastic. They go a long way.
And Jamie, do you see similar responses with people in your visits?
Not only the people we visit, but I'd like to piggyback on what was just said in that we think the relationship between the and the pet, I don't want to say owner, and the pet partner, the human pet partner in this dyad, is a strong one. And so now I'm going to share a bit of my odd background. But I worked in education, as I said, but I'm actually trained as an academic developmental psychologist. And we find that there is a lot of overlap between what can be learned about human development and the pet and the dyad of the human together. So, for example, when we do our evaluations, we look at something that's called attachment theory in the human world. A very simple concept. It's how closely are the pet and the owner connected? Do they feel like they can reach out and understand exactly what you said together? But there are some very simple ways to determine that when you first meet a pet. So, for example, when we do our evaluation, we look to see how a pet explores a new environment. Are they comfortable exploring that new environment? Are they willing to move a certain distance away from their pet owner, but periodically looking back to the owner to see whether or not what they're doing is safe? Is it a good environment? And through that simple exercise, we've been able to get a really good sense as to whether or not that connection. So when you look at it, Perdita, it's, in one model, we look at it as, can the pet perform and be comfortable with other people and in novel situations just by how they look to their owner and how they take comfort in each other? So I know that was an expanded answer, Spencer, but hopefully that addressed your
It is,
question.
because it did. The word I picked up were connections. So coming back to Nadia and Jean-Claude, with your work through loneliness global action as a worldwide movement, and excuse me, Jean-Claude touched on it about from the pandemic that loneliness is exacerbated. Do you find in your loneliness global action work that it is a lack of human connection, even the dog to one side of it, that has created this increase in loneliness?
Yes, and especially dog, because pet or dog generally good in us as a social catalyst for human connection. Because as a bridge, when you meet strangers on the road, etc., and then okay, your dog is cute. What's her name, etc., and it start the conversation. Of course, it's boost the oxytocin and reduce at least the mental stress. And of course, when it comes to also autism or people in the spectrum, when they see like a small dogs like this, for example, like a Phoebe, it helped them to see eye to eye and also reduce a little bit social anxiety. Because loneliness is about disconnection. It's not about being alone. It's a different with also enjoying solitude. And in some language, in many language, for example, in French, solitude is just one word, so there is no positive and negative there. But in English, of course, being alone, it's not same with feeling lonely, and it's not same with enjoying solitude. And pet is play a very important role when it comes to social catalyst, even in social capital in neighborhood. And GC, if you want to add, it would be great.
Yeah, in fact, I want to add a bit of on what Jenny was saying. There is a psychology, but the big progress currently come from neuroscience, as we have tools that give us like a precise measurement. And as a mammal species and social species like dogs are, for example, we I believe that we can most probably consider that our brain on that part is working more or less the same. And loneliness is definitely something which is about symbiosis. And I like that word, like social symbiosis, because it works well with the pet. That for millionaires, have been used to be with humans, and most of them cannot survive alone now in the nature, and there is some dependency. But what is interesting is to understand the cycle that was described by Dr. John Casopo, the founder of the social neuroscience. And John was describing this vicious cycle of loneliness. And it's all about the anxiety. Is that if you are anxious, and same for your animal, then you have a lot of cortisol in your body, even before starting interactions with other humans, or for your pets with other pets or other humans. So it's very sensitive, and therefore you will be with the flight or fight mode, and you will be hyperreactive. Same for the animal. Then you will be why hyperreactive? Because you are hypervigilant, and the connection will not work. If you are like kind of extrovert, you will be that person who wants to be absolutely, like all the evening with you like a glue, it's all time with you, so it will not work. If you're introvert, you will try to hide. And I believe you can find the same with the pet. The one who is super excited is maybe not that he's happy. He's just anxious for the connection. And the problem is that when it's not with a positive feedback, you are back home with either you want to go, okay, more anxiety after that, and you hesitate to go back to the connection. And then, of course, you will finish to stay home, and staying home, you will start to destroy the cells that are here to capture the oxytocin. And we can find parallel with the animals. If we don't give a positive feedback in the interconnection, then don't expect the pet to give you back, something positive. It will go down and down and down. And I really like what you are doing, Pratina and Jimmy. Pratina. So it's we have a lot to learn from, I think, from pets, and maybe you can add more on that. But what I like in what you said, I think Marina was you were a lot on that. Is the reciprocity? It has to be a connection that goes on both sides. And or like when Jimmy, you said like you don't like to say honor. Same, we don't like to say honor. Vivi is like a little princess. Maybe we are like too much, but it is a living. Okay, it's not the same species, but still, it's a living organism that need to have its freedom. And what we need, and I will finish on that. What we need is to understand in that need of social symbiosis is that we need to understand that when you are useful for the other, because you have two kinds, of symbiosis. You have the destructive symbiosis, is a parasite destroys the host, but you have also like for the sharks and the pilot fish, like a real. And I think you are expert. You are expert about the topic of loneliness, and you are expert about that. But I really believe that there is something here to explore. And if people feel they are useful for the animal, as well as the animal can be useful for us, it's the first step to fight loneliness. Because most of the people feeling lonely, especially, for example, when people, like UK, France, etc., by young adults, it's more than 60% suffering from numbness quite often. And terrible number, one third of them has at least think once killed themselves. And why some people suffer so much from loneliness, comparing even to the senior? Because they don't see the purpose of their life. And with the evolution of AI, robotics, etc., I believe the time for pet caring, the time for more in-person exchange and interactions for people is coming, and we really hope that the job you are doing with animals will contribute for that.
Thinking of contribution, Jean-Claude, I'll ask Jamie to come back in. I believe you've just been accredited, if I got it right, with one of the juvenile departments in California, the state of California.
Yes. Yes.
Two things that touched me is on this conversation about loneliness is connection or lack of it. Have you had enough work in that department yet to see that there's a increase in loneliness between people as they're incarcerated?
So, unfortunately, we have not begun those visits yet. We know from the extant literature that that's true. I will reference work that we have done and visitations we've done to a number of universities in the area about that. It's been incredibly clear that students coming into university, even having been there for a while, still have a hard time acclimating to a new environment, becoming comfortable in that environment, feeling like they're connected to other students. One thing that's been an amazing finding for us is that what we've found is that pets' effect on helping individuals in terms of feeling isolated and feeling lonely is incredible. But there's an incredible expansion beyond just that. So, for example, what the universities have found through their research studies and what we found anecdotally is that just being in the presence of pets with other people has allowed students to feel more relaxed, to feel more comfortable, and therefore more connected to other students around them. They've actually built relationships by just being in the presence of pets and engaging that pet in sort of the same environment. So the loneliness can be impacted by the pets directly with individuals, but it seems just there's a more global kind of benefit for people being in the presence of pets in groups because they can all bond with each other in that environment. So it's been a very meaningful finding for us.
And Benita, do you find in your work that you'll find that the pets actually listen, whether they're feline or canine, compared to most people on a human conversation, they talk at you. And they've got the answer. My
I like
pet
that.
is putting my pet ate. It's not listening. It's they've got the answer before you opened your mouth to say it. So, do you see a difference when you're working with Leo?
I do. And I think this also what Jamie said. I like that point because we do visit a psychiatric hospital where in an adolescent ward. And I remember this episode, which is amazing. There was this young person who used to visit Leo regularly every week. And initially, he had his face completely covered with hair. So he had long hair and he used to cover his face because he wasn't comfortable in showing his face to anyone and didn't want to even look at me, no one for that matter. And he was into a lot of self harming. But eventually, as we kept visiting regularly, and he started saying Leo regularly, and when asked, any staff member would ask, "Would you like to kind of show your face to Pari?" So he says, I don't want to. I don't want to show my face to anyone." He used to cover his face. But eventually, after a few weeks, he actually kind of pulled all his hair back and he felt confident enough to kind of show his face, and be there. And his way of communicating changed, and he started talking about his pet, his experience with his pet. And that was phenomenal for me, because that transformation from covering your face to actually kind of showing your face and, openly kind of talking and conversing. So Leo, with Leo, I think Leo, obviously, as you said, he wouldn't understand what we talk, but he certainly would understand the emotions for sure, because his energy suddenly changes when he's in that kind of a zone. He is extremely calm, composed, and he knows who is sitting next to him. Pretty much, I think it's the energy, right? That's how they catch. But yeah, I think he is sort of tuned to it. But having said that, I never take his energy for granted, because I know they absorb the emotions, right? So for me, it's the topmost priority of how Leo is feeling, how is he doing. So after coming home, giving him that rest time, that play time, that relaxed time, all that is quite crucial. But yes, the way of communicating during our therapy sessions, I have seen many episodes where it has changed between the receiver and Leo and me. Yeah.
So do you think that together and long term that we all contribute to a more inclusive society in the work that we're doing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think I don't see Leo in, it's like, it's I cannot isolate him. I see him everywhere. Literally, I can see in any part of the work that I'm doing. That's what I meant by creative work. But the thing is, any work that I'm doing, I can see how pets can fit in there. It's just about we understanding them. It's so important, as JC said, that it's important that it's reciprocal, right? To do that, inclusiveness, to do that, it's important first we understand the pets better. We understand them, we give them the space, and I think then it can certainly be mutually beneficial.
And Nadia, you have chapters for loneliness global action around the world. From your analysis or observations of those chapters, are there any? Is this a common issue, problem that through loneliness, of disconnection, and lack of inclusivity in society, or is there certain regions, certain parts of the world where one type of issue is stronger than another?
Yes, the thing is, when it comes to loneliness, which is it's about social anxiety or disconnection, people withdraw themselves, and I think that sadly many people treat their pet asymmetrical and take them for granted, because it's not good at all, and I don't like that as a pet partner, and I love Fifi so much. And I believe that I connect with a lot of social entrepreneurs that they do business around pets, and I see the impact of having a pet as social catalyst. But the thing, a lot of people that is not reciprocate with the pet, and the pet feeling sad, etc. And it's I think for people that they want to bond with other human being as well, they need to try to train or love their pet first before they interact with other human beings, because um, pet is easier compared to, because it's asymmetrical, and again many people think that it's like, okay, it's a pet is I own them, but I don't like the word own, like Jamie said, because it's it's not balanced. And for people that they might consider to have kids even, I believe that better you guys train to have a pet first than having a kids, because it's a way easier and better, and because it's like with humans, of course many things need to be in alignment, and a lot of negotiations, and pet can help that for sure.
I want to add something. because I would be the troublemaker, and maybe it will open to some other point in the discussion. But what Nadia was talking just now, and we expressed, is the trap. Is the trap because we talk about inclusivity. We are not living in a world that is that much inclusive, and we are not talking about already difficulties for from LGBT plus etc. Community, women, unfortunately, in some countries. Pet, there is no inclusivity for pet, and it's very difficult. Even traveling, going to the any like a movie theater, etc. And it is logical. It's understandable. Some people don't want to have pets around, but the problem is that more you are reciprocal with your animal, more you care about your animal, and more you are reluctant, to have like a social life, because social life with your pet is not that easy. And that's something that is terrible, and that's where I think with through technology, what we are missing is, and I know that some apps exist, but I think it is very important if we want people to really have that strong connection with their animals, to learn from that how to connect when they have problem of connections with other humans. We need to have a world which is more inclusive, or at least we need to know where we can have assistance, when we have pet. And when I see all these young people who will be deprived from their job in the future, whatever we think, robotics, AI is there, and it will not disappear. I'm thinking like I would be so happy if when sometime we go to the restaurants and we are invited, not to stress having the box. Unfortunately, maybe it's too small, so we can at least put her in her bag, and she's okay with that. But it's I would like that to have services around where we can have like trustable people who care like for 1 hour, 2 hours. Uh, we are in a world that will have more and more pets because more and more people will stay home. That's for sure. Uh, how it is possible that no one is really tackling that? How it is possible that there is no like a kind of Uber, like not for transportation, but Uber, like caring for the animals? Um, I would pay for that. I think Nadia, you would pay for that, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I believe that before someone own or like having a pet, they need to volunteer, and of course when we are busy and someone can take care of us, Fifi for example, for 1 or 2 hours, we'll be happy. And also I think, and there is some apps as well that out there that for the youngs, that if they want to take care of the others pet, even can be monetized. I think it's there as well.
So back to the trouble, as I say, is that was what I wanted to hear from you, fellows on this podcast, is that how do you see that? Like building connections with animals can be also at the same time putting people in their home and close in their home, because they cannot just go out with their animal, or it's difficult. But I don't know if you it's another angle, but I'm curious to know, you expert, how you see the things.
Point. Absolutely. That's an amazing point, JC. Actually, a lot of families have this issue of, and this came to surface during pandemic, that families do not have that flexibility, and due to which, that was another big reason why the rate of pet abandonment went high, because
Uh-huh.
they were like, oh, we've lost our freedom, right? We are not able to do things. So I think having that inclusivity really can make a big difference. And opening more doors, more opportunities for families to kind of, have that kind of a support system, where they do have. It doesn't mean that many of the families, they don't love their pets. It just means that they need a little breather. That's it, nothing else. So they can go on a holiday, even if it's for a couple of days. And having that kind of a network and support system really can make a big difference. And chances are very high that it can also reduce the rate of pet abandonment from what it looks
Yeah.
like. You're spot on that point.
I mean, I'd like to add just one element that you've all kind of alluded to, but it's the sensitivity to understanding the needs of your pet, right? It's not, we speak about pets sometimes in sort of this unitary way that, they're wonderful and they help bring people together, forgetting the fact that at times some pets are not going to love being involved in those kinds of social interactions. So the best way I can exemplify this is that I have two dogs currently. For a while, I brought both of them to therapy pet visits, and both of them were wonderful during the therapy pet visits. However, when we would start getting the goods together, my bag, my bandanas for a pet visit, one of my pets would run to me. She was excited beyond belief because of those kinds of actions. My other pet hid on the couch. So even though she was while she was there, she had made it very clear to me that this was not how she wanted to be hurt. So whatever we're going to be create, I think it's incredibly important that we are very aware, very cognizant of what our pets need in these kinds of environments as well.
Absolutely. I think, Jamie, that's a great point because, again, I think the point is about understanding and giving space to your pet, right? It's almost the way you would do to any family member, right? You wouldn't put them in a situation where they're not comfortable or they feel like they're, in a different space. So that's not how we want to treat our pets for sure. And that's exactly how it is with Leo and Bruno. Now, Leo has been a therapy pet for more than 6 years. Bruno is 4. He comes from a gun dog family, amazing temperament, but he is quite playful, and his
Hmm.
senses are very sharp. This doesn't mean that anything is wrong with him. It's just about he's sensitive. So it then it's
Hmm.
my responsibility to see which where what kind of space that I can create for him where he feels confident about himself in interacting with humans. So again, that's where
Hmm.
the creativity comes. So it's all about how we take that effort to ensure that each pet finds its space of comfort and interacts with humans healthily. It's the issue comes only when they
Yeah.
are pushed and they are
Yes.
demanded, or that's when it's like then yeah that's where the stress level goes up for them and they are not
Yep.
themselves.
So,
Right.
with
When we schedule
yeah.
visits, oh, I'm sorry.
No, 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 please, please, please. Please,
No,
Jamie.
when we schedule, when we schedule visits, when we evaluate pets, we make a decision as to whether they're a good fit in general. But secondarily, perhaps there are certain structures and styles of visits that are more appropriate for, right? So my one of my dogs, she's a ball chaser. She loves to chase balls. So I would never take her to a calm, quiet visit, let's say to a senior facility.
Hmm.
She could do it, but it would be very stressful for her. Now,
Yeah.
take her to a university where she gets to behave that way. She's incredibly happy. And then those students who that's what the type of interaction they're looking for from a pet, it's a
Hmm.
perfect match, right? So we think it's incredibly important that you match both the humans and the pets who are joining.
Yeah, and I think there is this. It's important how the organization which hosts these kind of therapy sessions or pet visits also is involved, because if they are not again in sync, then it's like the pet and the pet parent both are in the wrong place. It's as simple as that, because that support is not there, that understanding is not there of how to make that pet comfortable, how to appreciate the visits, and how to encourage the interaction in a healthier way. So yes, you're absolutely right, there are many factors to be considered to make things work for the receiver.
Yeah, but that's what I wanted to say. Also, again, troublemaker, but to make it well, because it's a kind of parenting, with animals, because they don't have the same level of consciousness, or they are not smart as humans. So somehow it's a bit of relations like with kids. And I can tell you, we understand really well what Vivi wants. And when I see my parents, with unfortunately pass away dog, but we were giving like they understand what he wanted, like giving sugar, giving everything the pet wants. And in our case, Vivi definitely refuse now dog food. So we are patient. So sometimes she is starving like a day before going back, because we understand clearly what she wants. She wants daddy or mommy to cook for her. So anyway, it's just a point that I believe it's also one of the points that we have to learn. When we care about animal, it's to respect what people want. But even with other humans, what is important is not to forget yourself, not to do something which is not good for you. Like when young people go for drugs or alcohol or etc. Just because they want to bond with you. It's something that not a lot of people talk, but I think that learning how to bond with your pet is also learning about limits, because elsewhere it becomes toxic. It's back to what I was talking about, being well balanced into social symbiosis we have with the animal. So yes, we need to understand what they want, and on the other side, we need to understand what is good for them and what is good for us at the same time. So
Yeah, and maybe to add, the good part about animal, they are very good listener, and like GC mentioned, to have a very bond with other humans. First, we need to know ourselves, and of course, the second one to always listen, or understanding. But it's like to have a two ways communication with other humans, so like give other people a chance to talk, to explain themselves. Then it's gonna be like balance, and I really like your point.
yeah, and why? Because sometimes the animal wants, but it's not that he wants something. It's just that he expressed the fact that he is anxious, and he tried to just attract the attention. So, but again, we are more specialists about humans than animal. That's what we see. Like.
I think much of the human loneliness stems from the limits of language. And
Yeah.
that's not the case with the pets, right? For pets, it's like they relate through presence and not words. So that
Yeah.
really makes a big difference, right? So it's like, I don't need, they can straight away connect or communicate with you to your emotional core. They bypass the linguistic, mind. As simple as that. They don't need that. They don't need words
No,
anymore.
no worries, Marina. Elon Musk will, through Neuralink, connect you with your dog. So sooner or later, you will have a chip. And okay, I'm not dreaming about that. It's just like a joke. But you talk about communication. Never did that. But I'm curious. I saw some videos, where animals can learn how to use, small pads that say like, I want to walk, I
Message.
want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you already tried that kind of thing? Do you recommend that kind of things? Because we are like it's for us. We are thinking like she's super smart, so maybe it would be interesting to test that kind of.
Gosh, if I do that to my pets, they might try to find out if there's any food inside it. So it's not going to work.
So, as we come towards the end of a fascinating conversation, where do you see the next stage? Where do you see this? Where does the disruption of loneliness come from through the human-animal bond? What can we do? Does it lie in? Is it an education issue from a human perspective? And do we try and educate my generation, which is probably a bit too late, or do we look at educating children or preschool children? How do we escalate the work that Panita and Jamie are doing?
So I think it's a very, very important question, Spencer. And I think educating the younger generation is absolutely important, because if we don't want this to go any further or escalate, or if we want to change the perception of what a pet means, if we want to do that, or how to connect with them empathetically, it's extremely important that we find different avenues to educate, to kind of bring that awareness in the younger generation. And the reason I say younger generation is because most of the time it's the younger generation which influences the parents. I want a pet, let's go and get a pet, and you see many a times that's how it goes, and the pet comes home. But then, yes, fine, we'll get a pet, but then who has the knowledge in the family? How are we learning how to take care of a living being? How can we make the pet as a part of the family, as a family? That's extremely important. And when we do that, I think majority of the problems that we are facing will reduce, because this goes both ways. Not only we are helping pets, welcoming them in our world in a more compassionate way, we are also teaching the younger generation what exactly empathy means, what compassion means, what kindness means, how to look beyond yourself. It's so important if you want that kind of an harmonious world. So I think, yes, in my thoughts, helping them understand, because going into the high schools, meeting the students who have anxiety issue, who have some sort of a mental health issue, it the lack of understanding is there of what empathy means, because they are so much in their world, which is understandable to some extent. But then sometimes when you step outside your world, you connect with other living being, the sense of purpose comes, confidence builds, and that's when it really is a win-win situation. So I think for me, younger generation, helping them in a more kinder way of what understanding, how to understand your pet, how to be with them, how to connect with them, is quite important.
Yeah.
If
Jean
it's
Claude, you touched
oh,
on mutually beneficial social symbiosis, if I got the phrase right. How do you see it change? How does this? How are we going to disrupt this loneliness so we have a mutually beneficial symbiotic relationship with animals and people?
This is for whom, Spencer?
Either Nadia or Jean Claude. Jean Claude talked about symbiosis,
Yeah,
social
when it comes to
symbiosis.
yeah, I think I can start with when it comes to social symbiosis about belonging, right? And uh, Pat is a very good example because it's a passive listener. They always listen, etc. So, like what I like about Fifi is whenever she wants to bond, she just put her body put and touch my skin, because like I like by her doing that, it gives me sense of like, oh, you love me. I like to be loved like that, And I believe that
You call her the oxytocin boost.
yes, oxytocin good, because like I think she can do that more than 3 times a day, and like being doing randomly like touch my skin and for a few hours, like I feel so loved, and I think humans need that. Like like Panita say, compassionate and empathy. Because by being a good listener, because many people that they are so having a good so high ego and not even give other people room to explain themselves, to understand, to listen, it doesn't really work. Because when it comes to social symbiosis, it's about it takes two to tango. It's not just about me. In a world full of social media, when it comes to self-esteem, it's a bit difficult because this social media thing it changed young people mindset. It's about me. It need to be less me to have a belonging. That's my thought.
Yeah, if you authorize me, Spencer, I would like to conclude maybe after Jamie, because I want at least to bring the legal frame. Because when you talk about the future, I think that there is a lot of things to do there. But maybe Jamie, you want also to this this meeting. So please.
Sure. So I'll try to be very quick. So, education, absolutely. I think we need to find a way to normalize as much as possible the involvement of pets in our lives from very early on. As I talked about before, we find that having people in an environment around pets helps bring them together and learn the critical issues of things like empathy, sensitivity, outreach, concern, you name it. The more we can teach through activity. To be honest, we've already started doing preschools and we've started doing early child head starts, and it's become all part of their routine, right? Even to the point where their pet interact transferring over from the preschool centers to the elementary schools, right? They're actually graduating. The pets are graduating with them. The more that we can normalize having pets around in these environments, we can, demonstrate how good pet ownership looks like, how you take care of pets along the way. But I think if we can normalize that in our society to a much greater extent, I think it will help develop those internal sensitivities.
Fantastic note to end this conversation on.
I wanted to say. Normalization. Okay. Spencer say from Paris because we are in Paris just for the few days, but we are living in Switzerland. In Switzerland, when you have a pet, first you pay a tax, and most of Swiss are happy to pay that tax. So that's why you have like poo-poo bags in all the parks and everything. It's very clean. It's people are very respectful. Um, there is a lot of place where you can go with your pet quite easily. Honestly, it's when we travel around that it's a bit more difficult. But what I like is in most of the canton, when you have your first pet, especially a dog, you need to have kind of a license, like a driving license. So you have to go through training courses with your animal, and it's really by law. It's something I really like from this country. Always trying to make the best. I think they need to go even farther because when I see many constructions today, new apartments, blocks, and etc., where you have as a rule no animal permitted. I think that this is very wrong and it has to be to evolve. But Spencer, to your question, what we need for more is a more inclusive world. Again, more and more people will have to work from home, or we just do not have work at all. And I'm sure humanity will find another way to give money for people to survive. But surviving is not enough. Living is what is important. Enjoying life. I believe pets will be more and more important for humans. Building interconnections between humans, of course. And at Loneliness Global Actions, the NGO we support, and Spencer, just to say that you join us also, and you are part of the chapter for UK. I think that we need more people like you, professionals, to advocate at the lawmakers level. We need support from the laws. We need support from the government. to make this world a better place for happy animals and happy humans. That's the best way to fight against war. That's the best way to fight even for the ecology, because ecology, who care about ecology when you are not happy and when you feel lonely? That's the last of your concern. When you feel belonging and love, the third level of the Maslow pyramid, which is unfortunately very low, because we supercharge the self-esteem with social media and etc., which honestly are doing a very bad job. Uh, we are not building a happy world. We are not building a happy generation. So, Spencer, I'm an optimistic person. So I will think that all together we can fight for togetherness, and togetherness is also with our pets.
That's a great note to end on. Working towards a kinder society. I'm going to say, unless anybody's got Nadia, Panita, or Jamie, have got anything briefly to add to that? If not,
No,
I think that was incredibly well articulated. So thank you.
I do.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
couldn't have put it better. So on that note, I shall
Yeah.
call it a wrap and say thank you very much. It's been great to have you on the Reboundog sofa. We should do it again next year.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Spencer, for having me.
Thank you,
You're,
Spencer.
you're most welcome.
Lovely meeting you,
Okay.
Nadia, JC, and
Thank you,
Jamie. Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Innovation and care, we're always there. Reboundog, connecting the world, making life fair. Reborn pets for people, for futures untold. Reboundog, where stories unfold.